doing? Man, I gotta tell y'all something. The stuff I've been hearing since I've been here is off the chain. I mean, if you take just part of it with you, you will be surprised at how it elevates you, how it grows you. Let me tell you something about Walt that you don't know. You can look at him and tell that he's tall, but he's taller spiritually. He's 6'9" in person physically, but his spiritual height is much better than that. Let me tell you something. I'm telling you what I know, not what I suspect, not what I speculate. Right? When he was in the hospital a few years ago, and he just received a very serious heart operation, I didn't think he could get better. But I tell him all the time, after your injury, you even became a better person. But Walt, I want to tell you that I love you. And there's no way anybody can do this unless there's love. What's the greatest force on earth? Love. I can't hear you. What's the greatest force on earth? Love. All right, listen to this, listen to this. Well, I don't know where to go, but I'm just going to go a place. And I don't want to take too much time, but there's some things that I have to say. And if you don't have a pencil and paper in front of you, can you get something? Because something might be said, and all you need to do is jot something down. I never go to a meeting without a pencil or a piece of paper. Never. Make that a habit. Let me start with this poem. I watched them tear a building down. A group of men in a busy town. With a mighty heave and a hefty yell, a beam swung and a sidewall fell. I said to the foreman, are these men as skilled as the ones you'd hire if you had to build? He laughed and said, no, no indeed. A few common laborers are all I need, and we can destroy in a day or two what it took a builder a year to do.
Wow.
So I asked myself as I went my way, just which of these roles have I, Charles Jordan, tried to play? Am I a builder living life with care, measuring life with a ruler or a square? Or am I a wrecker as I walk the town, content with the labor of tearing down?
Wow. Wow.
The question, gentlemen, is this. Which are you? Which are you? One day, a lady and her little daughter left church, and they were driving home. So the daughter turned to the mother and said, Mom, the preacher said that God is bigger than us. Is that right? The mom said, well, sure, honey, that's right. And she said, and the preacher also said that God is inside of us. Is that right? She said, well, sure, God. And she said, well, if God is bigger than us, Mom, and he's inside of us, then shouldn't he show through? Shouldn't he show through? I jotted down some of the things you guys were talking about today. Let me share something with you. I jotted it down and I said, well, character, courage, focus, action, commitment, dedication, love, patience. If it's inside of you, then shouldn't it show through? If it's in you, then shouldn't it show through? I want to do something here that's a bit different. Let me ask a couple questions here. How many winners in the room? How many people like to win? Do you know what winning is? Can I say this again? Do you know what winning is?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, let me share something with you. My son, Lyndon, who's in Spain playing ball, I went to his room when he was a senior in high school, just got all the trophies and all the awards and everything, and newspapers. And I walked to his room and he was in there with a bunch of his friends. You know how they all do, sit around, talk, and throw the basketball up. So I said to him, I said, can I say something to you? He said, sure, Pop. I say, you're not a basketball player. So he stopped throwing the ball up. He said, Pop, what you talking about? I said, you're not a basketball player. He said, what? I said, you're not a basketball player. He said, but Pop, he showed me all the letters he was getting from the colleges. And he said, look at all the trophies and the newspaper articles. I said, yes. But can I tell you what you are? I said, basketball is just one of the things you do well. What you are is much more than a basketball player.
Wow. Yes, sir.
Basketball is just one of the things, let's be clear about this, gentlemen. Basketball. My nephew, Jason, playing college ball now, so I was with him on Christmas. And I said something to him. I said, basketball is but a tool. He said, what? I said, basketball is just a tool. You get tools to build something bigger.
Come on.
Let me say this. If I go to the hardware and I buy a hammer, I'm not buying a hammer just to have a hammer. I'm buying a hammer to build something bigger than a hammer. Can I be clear about this?
Yes, sir. Come on.
Can I be clear about this? Basketball is a tool. If you use it right, it can take you somewhere. If you use it right, it can elevate somebody. Right? So this question about this whole thing about success, right? Everybody, how many of y'all want to be successful? Do you really know what success is? So somebody asked me a question. A young man asked me the question, well, Brother Charles, you're always talking about success, but how do I succeed? Y'all ready to know the answer to that? I'm going to give you the answer right now. The difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person is very simple. It is. I want y'all to write this down. Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. Let me say it again. Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do, but they do these things because they're driven. And successful people are driven by purpose, and unsuccessful people are driven by method. Successful people have purposes. That's what drives them. Unsuccessful people have method. What is method? Method is that I want to look good. Method is I want to win the battle at the expense of losing the war. I'm talking about a method. I'm talking about successful people have a purpose because they're driven by purpose. That's the difference between success and unsuccess. So let's peel the onion back just a little bit more. Why is it then that successful people are driven by purpose? What makes them purposeful? And what makes the unsuccessful person just want to look good? How many of y'all got ball players on the squad want to look good? All the time want to look good. Even though you lose the game. But I want to look good. Are y'all understanding me? You heighten because you want to look good. Successful people are driven by something that is called purpose. If you don't have a purpose, it's impossible for you to be successful. So I put something on Facebook, Walt, a couple of months back. I don't go on Facebook that much, but when I'm on it, I get a lot of reactions. So here's what I put on Facebook. I said, When the student is ready, the master teacher will appear. Can I get some help here?
Amen.
When the student, I want to peel this back, I want us to talk about that. When the student is ready, the master teacher will appear. Now the word appear is interesting. I didn't say when the student is ready, the master teacher will show up. I didn't say when the student is ready, the master teacher will come. I said when the student is ready, the master teacher will what? Appear. Because he's already what?
Here.
Here's what happens. I can't plant seed, Walt, on concrete and expect it to grow. I have to plant seed on fertile ground. Can I be clear about it? If I plant my seed on fertile ground, it's going to flourish. If the student ain't ready, you can't help him. If the ball player ain't ready, you can't help them.
Write that down.
The essence of it is fertile ground. So how do you remain fertile ground? We talked about a lot of it today. We talked a lot about having focus. We talk a lot about having character. We talk a lot about that. Now let's look at something here. Write this down. First thought. Thought. Determines action, which builds habit. Which determines character. Which determines destination. What's the first one?
First thought determines actions.
First one is what?
Determined action.
First one is what? Thought. Thought. You have to control what you think. Because no action has ever been committed without first being preceded by a what? A thought. First there's a thought that determines your actions. Your actions determines your habits. Your habits determines your character. Your character determines your destination.
Yes, sir.
Your character determines your destination. All my life, and I talk to Walt all the time, and Walt loves kids. He loves it, it's his passion, and I tell him all the time that he's anointed to do it. He's anointed to do it. But I always end up saying something like this to Walt. Well, Walt, I said, your kids have to get to the point where they are expected to perform at the genius level. And I say that all the time. To perform at the genius level, you have to be able to do something. How many of you know that you're geniuses? I mean, I'm talking about know it. And I'm talking about guessing it. If you know it, raise your hand. If you got some doubt, put your hand down. You're a genius. You know why you're a genius? Because you were engineered for achievement and designed for success. Can I be clear about that? There ain't nobody made like you. Nobody on the 7.5 billion people on the planet. There's nobody else like you. That's how God operates. You are precious. You are rare. You are Rembrandt. You are Raphael. There's nobody else like you. You're special. You, my friend, are a genius. Guess what? If you're not performing at the genius level, I got news for you. Then you're operating in an unnatural state. If you're not performing at the genius level, then you're operating in an unnatural state.
Everybody write that down. That's
If you're not performing at the genius level, then you're operating in an unnatural state. So, if you had $1 million in your pocket and you didn't know it, could you spend it?
No.
If you had $1 million in your pocket and you didn't know it, could you spend it?
No.
Why couldn't you spend it?
You don't know you have it.
Cold-blooded. You don't know you have it. You don't know you have it. In fact, if I had $1 million in my pocket and I didn't know it and I thought I was broke, I couldn't do nothing but go window shopping. But if someone tells me that I got $1 million and I look and I see it there, I'm going to go into the store, Walter, and I'm going to demand some attention. I'm going to ask the clerk, what took us so long? But if I have no money, and I don't think I do, I don't even want them to come to me because I'm just window shopping. There are a lot of folks just window shopping. I'm going to give you some laws of success. William James, the great Harvard professor, once said, "Let him learn the prudence of a higher strain. Let him learn that everything in nature, even dust and feathers, operate by law and not by luck. And that what he sows, he reaps."
Amen.
Everything in nature, even dust and feathers, operate by law and not by luck. And that what he sows, he reaps. The dust must fall according to law. The feather must float according to law. Well, wait a minute. What are you saying? Well, if there are laws that tell me how to succeed, then can you just tell me what the laws are? So that if I can follow the laws, I can succeed. Walt was in the 11th, 10th grade, and he was on the basketball team. And he wasn't starting. So Coach Dillard came to him, and Dillard came to him, to the team, and said, well, we playing the #1 team in the state. And they got a guy on the team that can't nobody guard. I need somebody to guard him. Nobody raised their hand but Walt. Walt got out there and guarded him and became a starter ever since because he had courage. If you're confident enough in yourself that you can take risks, can I be clear about it? If you ain't confident, you ain't gonna take no chances.
That's it.
You're gonna stay in your corner. Now, as strict a coach as Walt is, oh, he's a strict coach, I already know that. But he's the best coach I've ever seen. I'm talking about pro, I don't care what level it is, he's the best coach I've ever seen. As strict a coach as he is, you might think that he don't want you to take no risk. He wants you to take calculated risk. Are y'all hearing me? Calculated risk. Don't y'all know what time it is in your life right now? Can I tell you what time it is? It's crunch time. What do I mean by crunch time? What? Crunch time. Crunch time means this. It means that, well, you have 2 minutes to go in the game. So it's crunch time. If you're supposed to set a pick, then set the pick. You follow me? If you're supposed to cut to the basket, then cut to, it's crunch time now. Don't y'all realize it's crunch time in y'all's life right now? If you make a mistake now, it's gonna haunt you. It ain't like early in the game where you can make a mistake and get spanking and go to your room. It's crunch time now. If you make a mistake now, it's gonna haunt you. Are y'all understanding this?
Yes, sir.
Last year when Stefan won the championship, the NBA championship, so me and Walt, we were in Aruba, watching the game and at the condo, because Walt's daughter got married, and we sitting there watching the game, and Walt said, he just said, I said, man, you can't watch a game and be quiet. He said, he's just moving, right? And he said, I feel it. Here's what he was feeling. The game has changed so much There's some of the things kids take for granted. But when Stephon and the Golden State Warriors won the championship, here's what I read. I read 2 days after the championship, he was in the gym because he realized there's some stuff he needed to get. Y'all understanding this? He was so committed that he went back in the gym because he realized there's some stuff he needs to get. So, write this down. I'm going to talk about groupism versus individualism.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Y'all follow me?
Good stuff.
Everybody want to be part of a group.
Okay.
Everybody want to be identified as a group. Everybody want to be a groupism. Let me tell y'all something. Groupisms are good. But individualism is great, particularly when you know how to blend it with the group. Watch this now. Say this. If you look at great players, they worked on their individual game. They got themselves right. And by them getting right, they were more able to help what? The team get right. What happens is, if you just focus on a group, anybody can hide in a group because there are really no accountabilities. You have to get out there and jog in the morning by yourself. Michael Jordan, when he started the Breakfast Club years ago, he started it. He was going to the workout at 4 a.m. by himself. Next thing you know, Scottie Pippen was coming with him. Next thing you know, Horace Grant was coming with him. Everybody came with him because he led by example. Are y'all understanding this?
Come on.
Groupism does not overshadow individualism. Stay with me a minute now. Here's what happens is, you got to make yourself better so that you can help your team. I feel sorry that we're in a country where folks think everything is groupism. There are folks in churches who want to have a great church, but they don't want to be a great church member.
Wow. Come on now.
There are folks in families who want to have a great family, but they don't want to be a great family member. I'm just being clear about it.
Come on.
Be clear.
There are kids who want to have a great father, but they don't want to be great kids. What happens is you can't separate yourself from the group. In reality, you have to get yourself better. You want to have a great city, but you don't want to be a great city dweller. I'm just being clear about it. You want to have a great working environment, yet you're scoffing and talking about everybody in the office. You want to have a great team, yet you're talking about your team members. You want somebody to pass to you, but you won't pass to nobody else. Are y'all hearing what I'm trying to tell you? Here's what the reality is. We got to understand this. My daughter, Jamie, when she was learning how to drive, she came home and I said, well, here's your car. She said, okay. I said, go drive it. She got a license, but she really was never a good driver. So she got on Highway 85, and she called me on the phone. Dad, what am I going to do? I said, what's going on? She said, I'm on 85 and I don't know what to do. She said, there's cars all around me. She said, they're darting in and out. She said, I don't know what to do. I said, okay, take a deep breath and listen to my voice. She says, I said, stay in your lane. I said, wait a minute. I said, you stay in your lane. Let them dart in and out all they want. Can I be clear about this? But stay in your lane. I said, I promise you, you will arrive at your destination safe and sound. Can I be clear about that? I hate to see little guys want to post up, and they can't post up. You feel me? All of a sudden, the man who can't handle the rock want to handle the rock in crunch time. I mean, I hate to do it. I hate to say that, right? I mean, so you don't take last second shot while you shooting the ball. Stay in your lane. Here's why I'm saying it. I learned the lesson when I was 10 years old. Walk is one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. 10 years old, I came in the house with a long face, and my mama said, "What's wrong with you, boy? Why you got such a long face?" I said, "Well, Mama, I don't think God loves me." "God don't love you? What you mean?" I said, "He didn't give me no gifts." I said, "My brother Willie can draw, Suzette can sing, Diane can cook and sew, my sister Skeet can do poems, my brother Lafayette, even though I'm older than him, he can outrun me." And she said, "So that's what you think?" I said, "That's what I think. God don't love me because he didn't give me no gift." Here's what my mother told me. I took this lesson walk, and it's been with me all my whole life. She said, "Okay, when all the kids in the neighborhood come to the house, who they ask for?" I said, "They asked for me." Here's what my mother said. "God gave you the gift of leadership,
Wow.
but you can't even see it. You can't even see it because you're worried about somebody else getting it.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
He gave you the gift of leadership, but you can't even see it because you're worried about somebody else's gift." Here's what I want. As a young man, you're blessed with certain tools, certain gifts. Don't get mad because you can't do something somebody else do. You follow me? Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. We're talking about laws of success. So if there are laws and they define success, if I can follow the law, that means I can succeed. Is that pretty clear?
Yes.
Because if there are laws of success, tell me what the laws are so I can succeed. Is it really just that simple?
Yes.
It's just that simple. You have to have it. So here, let me give you a couple of tidbits. The first thing you got to do is you got to make a decision. Can I be clear about it? You got to make a decision. Don't you know that if you don't make a decision, God himself can't help you? God be saying, "Well, what you want to do?" You ain't made a decision. But you got to make a decision. That's the first thing you got to do. Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
Y'all better write it down, but I'm going to ask you something later on. You know, walk back there, you'll be like, "Well, y'all wasn't paying attention." The first thing you got to do is do what?
Make a decision.
Okay. Let me tell you how I did this. In Chicago, in Miami, about 3 years ago, I was speaking at a Jack and Jill event. We had 941 kids at this event. So the director says, "We never had this many kids in one room before. We don't know if you're going to be able to keep their attention." So I said, "Well, okay, just introduce me and give me your mic." She introduced me, so guess what happened? I walked out, picture this now. Here's what I had on. I had on a big old sheet. And on the front of the sheet was big words, "Going to Chicago." On the back of my sheet, I had "Chicago bound." I had a hat on that said "Headed to Chicago." I walked up to the mic and I grabbed the mic and I said, "Where the hell am I going?" Everybody said, "What?"
Chicago.
"You going to Chicago." Watch this. I say, "If you get in the car with me, where you going?"
Chicago.
"We're going to Chicago." "If you want to go to Miami, are you going to hitch a ride with me?" Because on my car, I got headed to Chicago. Here's what happens. The reason it's important to make a decision because when you make a decision, you get unexpected help. Can I be clear about this? Because I'm determined and focused that I'm going to Chicago and I'm making it clear to everybody that knows me, pretty soon somebody might call me and say, listen, I understand you're going to Chicago. I just come from Chicago and the highway is blocked around 75, so you might want to go a different direction. I'm getting help that I didn't even expect. I might get another call while somebody might say, well, you know, can I go with you? I got folks in Chicago, I can help pay for gas if I can get you there. Here's what happens. When you make a decision and you're crystal clear about the decision and you ain't keeping it a secret, you get help. You get help that you didn't even expect. Did y'all hear what I'm trying to tell you? You get help that you didn't even expect. The first thing is make a decision. Y'all talked about this somewhat this morning. Next thing is, you got to be willing to become uncomfortable. One of the funny things about growth is you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable. A baby don't birth without labor pains. You don't grow unless you're uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, you're in your ZOD. You know what that is? Write that down, ZOD. When you're uncomfortable, you're in your zone of development. You cannot grow in your total comfort. You must be willing to become uncomfortable, because that's when you're in your zone of development. Well, giving me the sign, so I'm gonna have to scoot on here. There was a cowboy who was riding his horse across the prairie, and he saw this man with his head, with his ear to the ground. So he stopped his horse and said, what are you doing? So the man said, he says, a wagon. He says, 2 horses, one white and one black. He says, man driving, smoking a pipe. Woman next to man has blue dress and red scarf. So the cowboy said, you know all of that by simply listening to the ground? He said, no, that wagon just ran over me about a half hour ago. Here's what the point is. You have to go through something, oftentimes to know something. You have to sometimes be run over. You have to lose last-minute games to know how to finish last-minute games. Are y'all understanding me?
Yes, sir.
You have to go through it in order for you to know how to go to it. That's what the reality is, right? All right, I'm gonna have to close out because I'm out. Next thing, we're talking about the laws of success. Don't confuse activity with effectiveness. How many of you know what I mean by that? Somebody. What I mean by that?
It's like for basketball, for instance, you can spend it all day playing basketball, but if you're not doing anything productive, then your game's not gonna improve. But you can take like 2 hours of doing something specific, and you can improve that one day.
Y'all hear what he said?
Yes, sir.
Don't confuse what activity with effectiveness. Too often what we end up doing is because we're doing something, we think it's gonna work. It's not work. Here's what happens. You can work all day on the proper, on how to post up and footwork. But if you're doing it wrong, what's happening? It's like being buried face down. You dig it to get out. It's not gonna work, right? Don't confuse activity with effectiveness. Just because you're busy, you might be busy doing the wrong thing. Get some advice from someone who knows so they can point you in the right direction. I'm talking about the laws of success, right? Let me tell you a little bit about me, real quick. I've traveled all over the world. God has blessed me. I'm married to a beautiful physician, board certified OBGYN. God has blessed me. I used to be CEO of several companies and president. God has blessed me. But can I tell you this? I own fast food restaurant, the whole thing. But can I tell you what my greatest joy has been? Over the years, I have personally mentored 54 young men. 54 young men. That's my greatest joy. Because I've taken them, these men came out of all kind of environments. You follow me? But my greatest joy is that I've taken these 54 young men and I've mentored them. And many of them are very, very successful today. Here's let me give you the last two and then we'll be done, Walt, okay? All right. Become a good listener. Let me give it back to you again. Become a good listener. Stay in your lane. Don't confuse activity with effectiveness. Right? Edify somebody else. All these things y'all already covered today. Right? And then you must be willing to become uncomfortable. Right? And know the value of individualism over groupism. And then what? Make a decision. Y'all follow me? Those, my friends, are the laws of success. Once you do those things, you will be successful. Let me close with a poem that I want to recite to you, and I want you to listen to it because I think it'll penetrate. Everybody look up here. Listen to the poem. The park bench was deserted as I sat down to read beneath the long, straggly branches of an old willow tree. Disillusioned about life with much reason to frown, you see, the world was intent on dragging me down. If that wasn't enough to ruin my day, a young boy approached me, all tired from play. He stood right before me with his head tilted down and said with great excitement, "Look what I found." Well, in his hand was a flower, a weed, really, it was a pitiful sight. The petals were all worn, not enough rain or too little light. Well, I knew I must take it or this kid might never leave, so I reached for the flower and said, "Thanks, just what I need." But instead of him putting it in my hand, he held it in midair without reason or plan. It was then that I noticed, for the very first time, that this weed-toting boy could not see. He was blind. With a quiver in my voice and a tear that shone like the sun, I managed to say to him, "Thank you for picking the very best one." "You're welcome," he said, and he went on his way, unaware of the impact he had on my day. So I sit there and wondered how a blind man could see, this self-pitying old man under an old willow tree. Perhaps from his heart he was blessed with true sight. At last now I could see that the problem was not with the world, the problem was with me. So I held this wilted flower up to my nose, and I breathed in the fragrance of a beautiful rose. And I smiled as I watched this young man, another weed in hand, about to change the life of another unsuspecting old man. If you want to be great, help make somebody else great. The best way to get to heaven is to help somebody else get to heaven. LeBron James was a good basketball player. He didn't become great until he started making other people great. Michael Jordan didn't become a superstar until he started making others great. If you want to be great, spend time investing in other folks. Make them great, And your greatness is inevitable. Thank you.